How about a wager? Your team's souls for these souls.
Whoa, soul ball. I could rub that in so many people's faces. Deal.
You bet our souls for a ball?
Ah! But it had souls in it. Ah! I'm sorry. With Skip's on our team, we were guaranteed to win. But after he quit, I was too embarrassed to tell you about the bet. But hey, now you know, right?
Restore Britain was sold to everyone as the fresh, clean, non-compromise alternative. The group founded by people Farage personally kicked out, the one that was finally going to get it right. But the massacres slipped faster than anyone expected. Behind the scenes, it's already attracting the wrong crowd, riddled with contradictions, and showing the same exact weakness as every other right-wing operation. Here's the hard, uncomfortable truth about Restore Britain. It's not building a real nationalist movement. It's the latest safety valve grifting operation dressed up in new packaging, and it's already starting to rot from the inside. With the Reform still riding high and the Unity Party in chaos, a lot of genuine nationalists are looking at Restore Britain hoping it might be different. But take a closer look reveals that this party does not have a coherent founding ideology with vague policies, shady internal drama, and leadership that is already compromised at the highest level. In today's video, we're exposing exactly how Restore Britain is pulling in the wrong people, the deep contradictions at the top, and why it will almost certainly implode the same way every other centre-right alternative has done before. I sound very divisive in quote, but let's go over the facts-based evidence and not the emotional vibes instead. Steve Lowes and Mark Curler have become very buddy-buddy in recent months. After the Homeland Party row, Steve went to cry on little Max Curlet's shoulder and even teamed up leafleting at the United Kingdom rally. Which is really odd for this to happen since I thought Tommy Robinson hated neo-Nazis. Even with someone like Ryan Ferguson that also has ties to Tommy Robinson too, it all seems too suspicious. Curler is openly working with Restore Britain behind the scenes, mentioned on his Telegram in support, and even giving it public support for some reason, and even giving his blessing to Lowe at the ballot box. Surely he could not see through Lowe's persona. Not to mention, both Steve Lowes and Curler are continuing doing the centre-right podcast slopper circuit. Why is it that the centre-right cozying up to specific neo-Nazi individuals? Steve Lowes was actually appointed manager of Restore Britain, or some type of role that was quite higher up, only to be mysteriously denied the role shortly afterwards. He's also previously mentioned having anonymous donors, which immediately raised flags about who is really bankrolling his operation. A paid actor, perhaps? Remember, Lowes came straight out of Ukip, hardly a hardcore effing nationalist party in its day, and basically became a troll factory, even spawning the likes of Carl Benjamin of all people. When running for elections, Carl came the very last, which proves that Ukip has failed multiple times as a party, including Christ-cut nationalists like Nick the Greek Tenconi now running the show. On top of that, Restore Britain has already shown it has no real founding ideology and zero consistency. Two people have already been removed or sidelined in very suspicious ways. Saskin Teague was kicked out as a speaker simply for posting a pro-white British image promoting Restore Britain. Jim Monroe, a former Homeland Party activist with clear ethno-nationalist or LARPing movement ties, was removed because of his involvement in ethno-nationalist circles and that edgy photo of him, only to be quietly reinstated later. Why did Restore Britain start flip-flopping who can join even with the past behaviour? It shows the organisation has no spine and no clear principles from day one. It's chaotic, personality-driven like Nigel Farage, and already attracting the exact kind of centre-right grifters and clout chasers that have been destroyed every previous attempt. The biggest red flag is Rupert Lowe himself. An elite phone call that surfaced recently, Lowe explicitly stated that he does not support ethno-nationalism at all. He even described what Steve Lowes has said to Andrew Gould as deeply offensive. That single comment tells you everything you need to know about where his real loyalties lie. Policy-wise, the difference is night and day. Homeland has a full, detailed 52-page document on remigration that actually lays out serious, thought-out plan for returning Britain to the British people. Numbers, logistics, legal frameworks, everything. Restore Britain offers nothing like that. In fact, even recently, as an update, as I'm writing this, it turns out apparently Restore have completely and utterly changed their policies. But even back then, their policies are deliberately vague, not detailed enough, and no sure of ever being properly developed. They are repeating the exact same Thatcherite mistakes Reform made. Talking tough on immigration, but refusing to commit to full repatriation or demographic reality. Rupert Lowe has never once talked serious about repatriation, only mild deportations that sound good on camera, but mean almost nothing in practice. He's just pandering to the base while keeping the door open for civic nationalism. Steve Laws was also caught in contact with Charlie Downs about Restore Britain, and Kai Stevens mentioned that they were actively talking to each other. It looks like Steve Laws saw Restore Britain as an opportunity and thought he could butter it up and turn it into another centre-right slopper factory like when he was a part of Ukip many years ago. Now here's where the whole thing becomes completely indefensible. Both Steve Laws and Zumi Historian have publicly stated in the past that they support deporting mixed-race people as a part of any serious remigration policy. Yet Rupert Lowe's own daughter-in-law is North African Jewess, recently married, in a post that he made, and talked about how proud he was as a father. So how exactly does that work? Since I thought he wanted to deport mixed couples, so would that include Restore Britain's leader's very own daughter? They have stated this multiple times, so this is blatant hypocrisy. YouTubers such as Blambus Britannica and Academic Agent have analysed the differences, but still questioning the party. Blambus has concluded that it's a Zog party that has a gay Zionist in the party. An Academic Agent is seemingly more hopeful about the party's challenges that will be handled better and will overcome them in the future, if that satisfies his own ego. So let's go over the facts-based evidence again. Restore Britain removes people for being too pro-white, then reinstates others when it suits them. It brings the centre-right grifters while pretending to be radical. It then copies Reform's weak policies while claiming to be the alternative. And at the very top sits Rupert Lowe, a man who openly rejects ethnic nationalism in private while his organisers tries to attract people who actually believe in it. Even Charlie Downs said people from the Homeland Party could join, yet booted, then had Monroe rejoin again, trying to steal our members only to then briefly kick them out. Like, really? This seems very suspicious to me. Look at Restore itself. It already has a prominent gay Zionist figure at the heart of it, proving exactly how these centre-right operations always end up. Watered down, multiracial, and completely compromised. Restore Britain is heading down the exact same road. This is not a serious nationalist project. It's another trap designed to absorb energy, dilute it into harmless civic nationalism, and eventually feed it back into the Uniparty machine. The contradictions are already too big to ignore, and the organisation will almost certainly implode the moment it tries to go properly mainstream. It will purge all of its radical members. If Rupert Lowe still has the Tory mentality, then he most likely will. Stop falling for the same grift in new packaging. It's the same centre-right slopper and another false idols. Psychological aspect, I would actually say, is a combination of Cope and midweights believing in the emotions of this person. Massive amounts of Stockholm Syndrome. People will attack the thing they believe the most. But again, I cannot lead a horse to water or pull the wool off people's eyes. They must do it themselves. I was like this with the Homeland Party, though I am still in support. I think the issues they had could have been sorted a lot better even previously, but this political prostitution is also tiresome, especially to do with Steve Laws and Zumi Historian, and then blatant, utter political prostitution and utter hypocrisy. And for those who think I'm being too negative again, I'm only trying to warn people off about the plot holes, shading going-ons in that party. You know why I am not in support of it the most? Because of Lowe himself. With his mentality and contradictions like his anti-net zero, then he's a part of the funding of Coda Energy, a net zero company, dodging dealings with Rishi Sunak's wife with a failed business, and him talking about never wanting repatriations. So all of his speeches basically mean nothing, then only to pander. Then this is exactly the thing I hate the most about Tories, selling out like this and its effects on the British people the most. The British people, you could say what you want about the globalists, Jews, or whatever else group, but it's the British people themselves that are into this mess in the first place. Again, I'm not trying to be anti-British or anything, but I've just noticed that it's this common trend of people where they basically try to put all of their energy and effort into something, only for it to go tits up, and then to basically cope and say, and basically make excuses, like you saw with Steve Laws and Zoomy Starring, and the whole internet personality drama that's come from this. It basically doesn't achieve anything, and it doesn't get remigration even put in, especially with the Tory Zionists who doesn't even believe in remigration in the first place. I could say I want to be in support of Restore Britain, but even from a normie perspective, it will not be able to compete with reform in elections since they have no funding or the clout and competition against compared to with reform in elections like with the Greens. So anyway guys, hope you enjoyed this video about my critique of Restore Britain. And obviously I mentioned quite a few people in this, especially to with Academic Agent, who's, he's centre-left, because, the centre-left and the centre-right aren't that different, and has obviously started to ride Rupert Lowe a little bit more. And obviously, even with him being a leftist, he has a proper analysis of Rupert Lowe and his ongoings. He's ignored all the Zionism and stuff. Maybe he's a Zionist himself. I don't know if he's ever talked about that. But I will say this, is that even with the centre-left, I will notice that if he's doing the meat riding, especially with Rupert Lowe, is because he's basically the centre-right. And all of the other weird stuff, like with Charlie Downs, who's like pretty much like an estate agent, someone who sells houses. He comes off as basically just this fake preacher, and then there's a bunch of other people who are like paid actors that are like basically going into Restore Britain, and especially the pussy of Epping, Callum Barker of Epping, or the line of Epping people will call him, and him basically being involved in wrecking the Hurland party, which I won't forget about what he did, and I never forgive him, especially Steve Laws, because he was basically the ringleader of it, and obviously I could sound salty and coping, but if you look at Restore Britain and look at the way it's going, I'm basically, going to sit there, basically going to laugh my ass off right now. And obviously, when it comes down to all the people that are being involved, speaking of Matt Curlett, it's weird how he doesn't believe in the whole centre-right. I mean, he did criticise him a little bit earlier to do with, I think, Restore Britain and basically him being a Zionist. He said that, it'd be good at the ballot box or something, even though he doesn't believe in the ballot box. I mean, he's a grifter himself. He basically appears just a honey trap grifting operation, as Simon Tomlin said in one of his videos. But when it comes on to, I guess, Curler, I think that, it's a bit odd that he's in support of it, especially Steve Laws, and he's attracting all the Wignats from America, and all of this in and outs with to do with like Restore and them trying to take over it so he can get enough ground on. Maybe it's basically not a case of paid actors, but more of them trying to get enough clout. But the problem is these people basically exist online, especially attract the American audience, as Pete North said, I think, in one of his posts, and basically they just basically pander to their audience of being, trying to be tough on immigration, but they're actually just being complete pussies on immigration, and especially appealing to the fat black American audience. No offense to my American audience. And basically that's what I'm trying to say, is that there's a lot of too much dodgy dealings, especially going on with Restore Britain. And as well, if you want to go and look at the description, link to my other channels and Discord as well.
Then they must leave, or be made to leave, or be made to leave, or be made to leave. If they agree to go, if they agree to go, if they agree to go, because we make it worth their while to go.
And a hostile environment. Theresa May had a hostile environment, which deported British citizens.
And it goes further than just illegals, correct?
That is correct, yeah. We are in favour of reversing mass legal immigration.
I have never said we should deport people who are here legally. That's not something I think we should be talking about.
So that's like halal and kosher ban, stuff like that?
That's correct, yeah. So we would ban halal and kosher, that would be one.
Kosher and halal, if people want to eat it, the meat they eat should be imported. I don't think most British people want.
Farage alleges that we want to deport entire communities, and he's absolutely right.
I have never said whole communities of British passport holders should be deported. What I have said is once we've done...
Whatever that even means at this point. And that's a concept that can be, defined as we please, really.
I would be a true Tory if I was anything, not a One Nation Tory. I promise not to call them Lib Dem Tories as part of my agreement, as part of my agreement.
Surprise, bitch. I bet you thought you'd seen the last of me.
Who brought you back?
Are you deaf? I'm the next Supreme. I brought myself back. Looks like you've got some splaining to do.